Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Hakakura and it's DevStream Day. We are picking up where we left off, doing more coding on the app. If you want to watch and you've missed, I uploaded a bunch of the videos for this yesterday. I didn't do any tech stuff yesterday, even though I had it scheduled. I had a bunch of administrative stuff to do. And by administrative, I mean upload videos and do laundry and clean. And I'm glad I did it. My floor looks vacuumed. My desk is dusted and cleaned. Yeah. Didn't help my brain though. I was trying to mess around before I got on stream just to pass this variable into this function. This is just a placeholder. I know that's not how you do it, but my brain wasn't braining. It's like a writer's block or whatever. Anyway, very quick recap on all the stuff we did. We have this class here, which has a number of functions that takes different sections of the named class here. And basically most of our programs so far, our app so far, is we're doing like the skeleton of it, right? You know, like it's what do you call that? Like the backbone of it, right? The majority of kind of what it's going to do programmatically. And we have a list of predefined keys, and some of those have to be numbers, and we stored them in lists, and then we are putting them in key value pairs, and we're taking user input, and the user input is equaling the values, and some of those values are numbers, and what don't go as numbers ends up just as strings. And then this is a little checker here, and that's pretty much the entirety of what we were doing. And then a few streams back, when we went to this one, some of these have to be lists and not just one-off values. And so we figured out how to do that. And we figured out that we have to instantate the key value pair prior to doing anything else. So we figured all that out and got that done and tested out, and it works. So this and this work together. We did this is our test function, which just calls all of the class methods. And then we kind of backtracked and kind of did some reorganizing of all the stuff here. And we, excuse me, I gotta take care of this. Now I know why people have moderators for their chat. Anyway, so we took this and we pretty much kind of did the same thing. I mean, and I don't like necessarily repeating myself, and you know, I'm kind of thinking about like how would I have made like maybe like a bare bones class that could have repeated this, because a lot of it's the same. And I don't like, you know, doing the same thing, you know, like doing a bunch of if statements, if, or in this case, dictionaries with lists of keys and everything. But in all honesty, like right now, according to what I know, this is the best way to do it, right? So we're doing that, and we are, let me pull up my notes here. So we're just working our way through this function, or sorry, yeah, this class and all of these functions, and we are down to the last one. And so we have to work our way through that, and then we will be able to check the list off on that section and move on to some basic calculations. We'll end up probably having to do a test of the entire thing so far and make sure that those basic calculations are working along with the data that we enter. We'll enter some dummy data in. And then after that, we will move into the ballistic calculation portion of it, as well as adding in different measurement types. So like difference between inches and centimeters, or feet, meters, or meters and yards, etc. And where we left off with this is that within this thing here, this specific variable needs to be passed into this function. And again, I know that's not how you do it. And I'm trying not to use the global keyword because it's a bad habit or whatever the frickin' hell. So I don't know. I'm just trying not to build bad habits into myself when I'm doing this, even if it's a little bit more difficult. And I know right now, for example, I have to put like, you know, a dummy parameter. Hold on, my laptop or my keyboard's not on. So I have to put a, oh, wow. That wasn't me. I hit it once, it come on, maybe it glitched out. So I have to put a dummy method, or excuse me, I don't know what the frick you call these. Hold on. I can't remember. Argument. So I have to put like a dummy argument here. And then this is, it's going to be like jam dummy or something like that, right? So I got to figure out how to do that because I need this measurement here to go into here so I can add, so I can do more calculation with it under this specific thing. So that's where we're at. And I know some of this, like I leave this here. I know that some of this, I should be using this to be able to do things like that as well. It would make it a lot easier, but I don't exactly know how to, or how I would do that, like implement that with my specific thing. Like I understand the concept and everything like that to, you know, pass things around that are similar. But with one-off values, I don't know if that is necessarily a good thing. I thought it, in my brain, I think it is meant to be for like multiple values, right? So like if you had a thing that was in every single one or nearly every single one of these functions, or, you know, or needed to be called outside of it, outside the class to reference internally, that it would be, you know, what you're trying to do. Anyway, I got to figure this out. Like I said, my brain was not braining. This is like tutorial level concept. And for some reason, like there is a literal wall in my brain that's not working. And it's trying to do it without just, because I could just type, I could just go up here and go global and then type initial seating depth, and then I would be able to use it in there as is. But I'm trying not to do that because, you know, I read somewhere that it was not a good idea, even though it's just for a one-off. But enough of my prattling on and excuses. Let me read this. I have Google pulled up so I can get an overview. So it says in Python, passing a variable from one function to another is achieved through function arguments and parameters. The key steps are defining the receiving function to accept an argument and calling that function while providing a variable as a value. I might, because I seem to do better, instead of asking, like when I have problems like this specifically, instead of asking the Google, instead of asking the AI that Google's using, like general stuff, because it gives me this, right? So here it's all together. So I asked it from function, how do you pass a variable from function B to from function A? So like, first off, I don't know if the order matters. Like I might have to put this function up here, but what I meant for it to do was say function A, function B. So this one up here that I'm in right now, function A, function B, right? So it's like, it trips me up when things aren't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two dummy functions down here, and I'm just going to say and just so it uses my my language, you know what I mean? So what is we'll just call it we'll just go 0.005. I'm just giving it dummy information. So if I can spell correctly. Okay. And I know that this is wrong, but I'm just going to go. So I know that this is going to Control C. I just type this into Google and it'll say, oh, this is what you're trying to do. That's what it usually does. Sometimes it doesn't say a dang thing. Your search did not match any documents. Yeah, I know. All right, let's just do this one then. Control C. Control V. Deeper dive with AI. I pass. Initial C depth. So also what I'm trying to do is, like, you know, some of these freaking terms that I use are kind of sus. And I don't know. Like, they're not. I'm not a freaking bad guy or whatever, like trying to do nefarious things. But I don't want problems, and I sure as heck don't want knocks on my door. What are you doing? It's like, none of your freaking business, cocksuckers. Go away. Got no time for your business. All right, so. Hold on. In Python, variables defined inside a method are local to that method and cannot be accessed directly by other methods. To share between the methods, you should instance attributes by attaching variable self. Assigning the variable in the first method makes it persistent across the entire class. So is it that simple? If you want to call one method from inside the other, pass the value directly. That's what I want to do. Seriously? That's it? And then here, we would just go seat depth, initial seat depth, print, and okay. You go away. I am going to do loading dot seat depth test. Call that, and I'm gonna make you guys disappear. So what this should do, actually, hold on, we can't do that. We have to run through this one, because if we don't, we're not going to get the we're not going to get this measurement. Yeah. So, okay. So, here it says that the self dot variable, it gave us says that the way that I just did it here, which I don't even know if it's going to work, is best if it depends strictly on the value generated by this. Excuse me. Which is true, because this is within this. And it does depend. It like entirely depends on that. So I'm just calling it that. Save. Hopefully this works. Because I don't want to be stuck on something that's this retardedly simple. but sometimes I guess that's the name of the game. That's what I heard. I read it in a book. You know? So, let's see here. Am I ready to run that? Okay, so that calls that. We don't want anything else going through. All right, let's try it. We're going to have to enter in a bunch of stupid information right off the bat. H, 1, H, one, gobbledygook, CBTO. Okay, so this is whatever we're going to say. 1.225. No. Four. Now we'll do 225. So we should get a 1.223. Missing one positional argument. Okay. Where's it here? Oh, freaking no. What did that say? Pull that up again, would you? Fine. What did it say? 121. Missing one positional argument. Dummy. Why are you being so difficult today, brain? Sure, run it again. Dummy is not defined. What am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? I did something. Value is now available. See. I'm about to use the global keyword. This is pissing me off so bad. So we did that correctly. Yep. Self dot seat depth test equals. Did I spell it right? Seat depth. Okay. That's good. And then I assigned it as the argument dummy. And I'm saying print the dummy. Just like it does there. And then I made a function instead of saying variable. So I'm doing the same thing. And then that runs me through that. And All right, what do you got for me now? Give me the error. Okay. But now. What the fuck? Like, dude, I literally just added it there. I don't think that's where it goes. Missing one required positional argument. Is it this one? No, it doesn't work. What's going on here? Okay, bastard. Run it. Give me another error. Do it. Name error. That's because I'm stupid. That's why it's named that. All right. Where am I doing it wrong? That shouldn't need to call it. And this shouldn't need it either. Object, your class name. Yep. Object dot this. So what if I take that out? And I don't need this. So that's not defined. This must be called first to initialize the variable. And it is. Now it can access it. So there's nothing wrong with that. But why isn't it allowed? Why isn't it doing this? We don't need you. Oh, brother. Let's run it again, see what error we get. F1. Okay. So the error now is here. Missing one positional argument. Okay. I don't want it to equal anything. I want it to be whatever the frick hell it is set as. Now I'll do it again. Now what the frick's your problem? frick you mean it wasn't defined? I defined it. Son of a bitch. Motherfucker. Let me run through it again. And I am going to, hold on. Name error. God dang it. Because variables created inside of the function are local. Okay. Yeah, no. Inside Jam, it only exists within Jam and cannot be set to any other methods unless you explicitly store or return it. Which is what the fuck I did, you piece of shit. Here are two ways to fix it, depending on how your code is structured. Use the self. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so maybe I did it wrong. So in here, do, right? So that's what it's telling me to do now. You must call the next function here and pass the variable. Okay. So we remove this and we do this because this is the next thing. This is literally what the fuck it's telling me to do. I'm getting pissed off now. When the help doesn't help, go ahead and we'll just comment you out. Okay, it's right after it, dude. So if you want to pass an argument, you must call from inside while the local variable still exists. Okay. If your code looked like this, name error. Okay. I get that. There happened. Okay. Okay, now that makes sense. Go away. Clear. Yes, you know what the frick clear means. Do it again. I'm just going to run through. I know it's going to give me an error again. I just want to make sure it's going to give me the same error. just in case it doesn't. Okay. You know what? You can kiss my ass. You know what I'm doing? I'm going to use the freaking global keyword. I'm using global. I don't care if it's bad practice or not. Get fucked. Take your best practices and shove them up your ass. Delete you. Delete you. And we're going to go initial seek depth. And then I should be able to go seek depth. We'll go pre-seed equals initial seed depth minus the 0.00. So we do 225, it's going to be 223. Let's go 3. So it should give us a 1.2 or 1.200. Okay. So then when we call that, should be good to go. I hope. Cross your fingers, bro. $1.225. 1.223. And so it gave us this one, and then it stopped. Why? Because this is that's good. That's good. Seed depth test. Oh. Okay. Let's do it again. But we got a rounding error. So do try that. Do it again. Oh, crap. Clear. Clear. Do it again. H1 G or F1 lots 1.225. Huh. Comma 3. Forgot to do that. Let's try it again. Because it should not have done 1. That's way too much damn rounding. It doesn't need to. Should be 1.2. Okay, that's not right either. Now I'm running into a calculation error. And it's probably because of this thing. So we go up here. And you go 1.225. Need to make sure that I'm not mathing wrong. You do 1.225 and you subtract 0.002 off of it. You get 1.223. Yeah. And then you subtract 0.003 off of that. 1.220. Okay, I'm wrong. Thank God. Okay, so now we can move on with our stuff. I didn't want to use this, but I'm not sitting here fighting this back and forth horse shit. I'm not doing that. I hate that so much. That's like one of the things. It still can. I guess it still confuses me about the classes. That's part of the reason why I was taking uh this Pygame tutorial, was because it was like very object oriented programming sort of thing. And what I couldn't quite get is like, okay, you have this here and you're setting this, and then this is, it has like, you know, self.x equals x, self.y equals y. And then down here, they were saying self.x, and they were referring to something else that they called in here. And it was like all this, like, when I'm looking at that, I think about the frickin' Spider-Man meme with them all pointing at each other. And it's like, what the frick is the matter with you guys, you know? Like that sort of thing. So, but this helps us alleviate, like, not have to do that, because it should not be that complicated. And additionally, what I did initially, that should have worked. I don't know why it wasn't working, but I really didn't want to spend the time to figure out why. Like, if it's going to irritate me like that, then it's going to cause problems, especially when there's a quick, simple fix with the that global keyword, you know, more or less. I don't like doing that because I don't want to get in bad habits or rely on things like that. But at the same time, I'm not getting held up for dumb stuff, you know. Close that. Where's my notes? There you are. Okay. So the testing, seat depth calculation. So this one's going to be kind of the same as there is a it's the charge weight. Okay. So this one is going to kind of be the same sort of thing. This method or function here, it takes whatever the user defined a max charge weight is, and it deducts how much ever they would like to take off. And this is a personal preference. That's why I coded it like this. Now, me personally, I take like whatever the max is and I deduct 2 from it. And then that gives me my starting charge weight. And then it prints to the user their start charge weight, and then asks them how many test rounds that they're doing. In my case, I use 10 because that's just what this is. And then we save that into a variable called test rounds that has a list comprehension that takes the starting charge weight plus the you know, I equals like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1 through 10 for the test rounds, and it's accurate out to the second decimal, and then it goes for the range of that. And so what this will do, actually we can take these guys out here. Should probably put that back in a function. So it can do all of these at one time. So it can do all those at the same time. And we can see how this works. So we're going to say ready, overall length 1, brand 1, lot 1.225. To maximum charge weight, we'll say 50. What would I want to take off? We'll say 2. Starting charge weight is 48 grains. We want to do 10 test rounds. So then this here spits us out our list of starting charge weight. And the thing is, like, what I don't know is it takes whatever the I is and it's taking the position. So this works for an even number, right? So we'll just, but I don't know if it's going, like if you had like a 50.5 or whatever, would that spit you out the correct number? I don't know. Well, we're going to have to test that. 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 time 20:01 chrono distance 0. So enter your muzzle velocity, blah 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 blah. Q, temperature 1 Q, humidity 1 Q, 1 Q. It spits us out that. So you saw how that worked with the list here. That's what we wanted to do, but I'm going to test it actually again. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get these out. I am going to comment this out. And I'm going to comment this out. These two out too. So, hold on, I need to remove you. Bye-bye, bud. Thanks for playing. Don't come to my chat, please. Spamming your links. I'm actually going to put that in the list of things. Like, you guys suck. Okay. So what I want to know is, because I don't want it to, what is your max charge weight? We're going to say 50.5. And we're going to enter that. How much would you like to start off? So it should be, the first starting weight should be 48.5. I'm going to take 2 off. Okay. How many rounds would you like to? So that it got that right. But we need to see that in the list. All right. How many rounds would you like to do for the test? 10. Okay. So that's good. And it's going up by how many? Wait. It's going up by 0.1. Eventually, I'm going to have to code in to where the user can set this as well. But right now, I'm just going to leave it like that. But it shouldn't make a difference. So 48.5, 48.6, 48.7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay. So it's working as advertised. Just want to make sure. Because we don't want to cause ourselves any problems down the road. And again, like there's like this is a piece of functionality that we want the user to be able, or like that later on we'll change so the user can they can have that for their own, like whatever they define, whatever they want. And that piece of functionality we will code in later. Although I will, if I didn't do it now, I'd probably forget. So I probably should do it now. But that's not the point. This next part here, this seat depth test thing, is going to basically do the same thing, right? It's going to say, we already defined this here, so we don't need any, we don't have any problems with that. And then we want it to just write this out, or I already have it written out in the form of notes. So here, so we want it to test the seat depth calculation. So we want it to take this part right here, which is that, and we want it to plus or minus. So we said minus here, but we would actually, I think we do plus. I have to go look at my notes actually about this. I have to go get some, because we're getting to the point where I actually need to look at real data in order to make fact check myself, make sure. But what we want is it to plus or minus these in 3000s increments and group them in 3 rounds for 10 round groups for a total of 30 rounds, right? And so, hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta go deal with something. If it'll let me. All right, I'm back. Gotta go see. Something was going on with my chickens. Anyway. So, like I was saying before, what we need is we need this thing to take this initial seeding depth, right? And then we need it to group it into rounds or groups of 3 by how many ever rounds the user defines, and do an initial seeding depth. Okay. And we might end up, as opposed to doing lists, we might do a dictionary, because then we can do, which will combine the things that we've been doing. Combine this. So we can go, group whatever number to whatever number. Important thing is I need to do a Google search. Are you going down by 3 or up by 3? That's what I don't know. I need to go and get my my book that has this information in it, so I can make sure that I'm doing it correctly. Because I think it's just deducting it by 3. So, and this stuff's going to start getting more and more complicated as I add that, as I link these to being able to have different units of measurement. When you do those units of measurement, some of the calculations change based off of what you're doing. So, oh, that confused me for a second. Express there. Okay. So, we're going to say, we're going to call this test round number. And we're going to set that to an integer and put how many rounds so we have that. And then if we were going to do the same thing, we could do that too. Because we could, okay, so I'm thinking about it 2 different ways. So we could just do this, and it would spit us out the data, which is really all we need. We could just do a list comprehension using these and adjusting for our stuff, right? And it would give us the initial data, but it would not be grouped together or anything else. Now, that's what Pandas is for. The library Pandas is for. And so later on, when we display that to the user, we can use pandas to make that work or group the data how we want it to. Or we could hard code it to do that initially. I think that the pandas is going to be easier to do. And the reason why I think that, and I keep in mind, I've never used that library at all. I don't know anything about it other than initially reading it to see like what does it do, right? But from what I've read, it's going to, like, we're going to be able to define however we want that done. Now the problem is that not everybody does things in the same way. And so we're gonna have to have it have a selection thing where it's like, do you want it in groups of 3 or groups of 5 or groups of 10 or whatever? Because people do things differently. But this is not like, the way that I'm doing this is not necessarily the way that other people are going to be doing it. And it isn't necessarily for large data sets that some people do. Like, some people will fire hundreds of rounds in a go and do this. So it's only going to be scalable to a point. But I'm not making this specific app. First of all, I'm making it for myself. But second of all, if other people are going to use it, I'm not making it for people that are going to be doing hundreds of rounds. I'm making it for people that they don't have time to do that. And so they are trying to get the minimal amount of this information to make an educated, rough guess, to then take that information out and put it to the test to, ensure that everything that they got is right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this style because it's just going to give the data, right? And so I can go, so we have test round number, and we can go test set equals, and we'll say round, because we want to round it up, and we go pre-seat plus I times, and there we had 0.1, but this time we're going to go 0.003. So that should give us the increase by that amount, right? And we want that to go out to the third decimal because it's in the thousands for I in range test round number. So we'll see what that does for us. And then we're going to have it go print test set because I want to see it. And we have to do, we don't want charge weight. We're going to have to do jam because it takes the initial seat depth, and we're going to have to do seat depth test. So here is my prediction right now prior to any test. So what this is going to do is it's going to take our initial seat depth and minus 3 thousandths off of it. right? Meaning, so like, let me draw this up for you. Sorry for the eye cancer. So that's your projectile, right? Oh my God, I'm so horrible. Let me see if there's any shapes. Let's just do this. Okay, say that that is your bullet, and this is like the barrel. Okay, so how do I make you just move? Tools, brushes, shapes, layers, selection. No. Freeform, select all. No. How do I just move this frickin' thing? Oops. So, say this is your barrel. Let me use easy. I'm gonna have to look up how to do. I gotta look this up. This is so stupid. All right. How to move a shape. Use the select tool, draw a box around your object, then click and drag it. What's the select tool? Text, that's obviously, that's select. Okay. No, okay. All right, cool. Now we got this. Okay. So, damn it. When I can actually get this cooperating with me. All right. So, when your projectile is in, like it's in jam, right? See, I even went and forgot what I was trying to explain. So, it's at jam, and that's your initial seating depth test. And what you look for when you're doing, that sets your initial seating depth for your charge weight test, and that gets it to a safe tolerance, so you're not having any problems like pressure issues or anything like that. So you fire that initial test, and then when you do your seating depth test, you are determining how far in or out the thing is sitting into the barrel right off the bat, right? And so you take that initial seating depth and you minus it by 3,000ths. And then you shoot 3 rounds, or you shoot 5 rounds, or you shoot 10 rounds, or whatever, how many ever you're going to do. And additionally, it doesn't have to be 3,000ths. It can be whatever amount you want. Okay. So you do that, and then you back it off 3,000ths. And then you do another one, and you shoot that group, and you back it off 3,000ths. And you should do that again, and you shoot another group, and you back it off another 3,000ths. So on and so forth until you get to the end of your test. Then what you do is you take the best grouping of that, and that's like what you select. Now, there's some fine tuning that needs to happen when you're doing this. Like sometimes that maybe, that group is just better because you were better that day. But mostly not. And so what I'm saying is that like sometimes you have to do this and this like again and again, like a couple times to get it correct. So you're taking from this initial seating depth and you're deducting 3,000s off of it and how many ever rounds you want to do for the test. So in our case, we're going to do 30. So it should give us it would give us 10 groups of 3 is what it should do. So this should give us 30 separate seating depth tests. But the problem is right now is that this is going to deduct this number every single time for 30 rounds. We don't want it to do that. We want it to do every 3 rounds. So we are going to copy this and I'm going to put this stuff into the Google or whatever. And I'm going to ask it to ask anything. Paste. Make this list. So updates only after every 3 rounds. You can use floor division by dividing the index by 3. The multiplier will only increase once every 3 iterations. So it'll stay the same for indices 0, 1, and 2. For indices 3 and so on. Okay. Okay. Very nice. So that's so. Three. So that's what it told us to do. So why this is better than a loop? Yep. Avoids the need for external counters. Yep. Clearly shows the increment is tied to a 3-step cycle. I did not like the list comprehension sections in the tutorials. It was always hanging me up. Okay, so we have that now. We have to run the jam test again. And so this should do what I was telling you we should do. So it should yeah. Let me read it again. So to update seed depth by 0.003 only after 3,000s only after 3 rounds. You can use floor division by dividing the index by 3. The multiplier will only increase once every 3 iterations. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, it should be doing what I want it to do now. And before we get into this, I am going to stop my recording. So, makes uploading videos a lot easier. Stop recording. Yep. Start recording. All right, so this is now part 2 of the dev stream number 9 or whatever. All right, so it will run this, and then we're going to run that, and let's give it a shot. Okay. Dummy information, dummy information, dummy information, dummy information, more dummy information, not dummy information. Okay. So 1.225. How many rounds would I like to test? That's correct. So this should be our initial stuff. How many rounds would you like to test? I would like to test 30 rounds. Okay. Bam. Good. Not good. It's grouping them just fine. So let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it grouped it just fine, but it went in the opposite direction. So it should have been like 1.20 or 222. That's good. And then the next one should have been less than this. Why did it go more? Because my math is off. I seriously have like writer's block today with this coding. Like my mind is like, I want to do this. I want to think about it. Like I'm excited to do it, but my brain literally, I have a literal freaking wall in my brain right now. So I apologize, you know. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to go down by 3. Oh, Jesus. Dude, I am motherfucking retarded. I'm telling you guys, right? I escaped from the button factory. Straight up. I did it. I escaped from the button factory. How dumb am I? How? I was born in the stupid tree, and I hit every branch on the way down. Dummy information, more dummy information, more dummy information, more dummy information, not dummy information. That's correct. 30. Very nice. 22, 217, 214, 211, 208. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here's what I need to do. I need to go downstairs. I know that that calculation's correct and everything like that. So, what have we achieved besides proving our ignorance? I guess sometimes this is just the way it goes. So, we have it grouped into 3 rounds. We have 10 groups, 30 rounds total. So, we've done that. I'm not going to be concerned with this, even though I'm going to put move this off the side. I am going to put that functionality in there. So gathering grouping data, right? And I am going to, just like the other ones, I'm going to do key value pairs. And because it is a thing, it's going to need to be like this. So I am going to have to say, I'm going to separate this in my notes so I can. Okay. Control S. So I guess we can go group equals empty dictionary. And then man, my brain does not want to do this today. Like even thinking about the question is hard for my brain. So what I was just thinking about was having the user, instead of like down here where I have preset keys, having the user input the keys. I'd have to do something like this, where I say like enter your group number. No. Do we want to do that? Because I would be skipping stuff if I didn't. But I'm skipping other stuff too. Like again, this is also going to be a user defined value, right? So I could simply, like right now, I could say test round number, and we could go test increment. I don't even, that's not, and we could do float input how thousands. And I could even say this to test round group, and I could go float put how many. So then here we could go test round group, test group number, right? And then here we could go test increment. So then that's user defined, right? And then I wonder if, because it's not, we could just get rid of that too. If we got rid of this, then pre-seat would be the initial seat depth, which that's actually what we want to do. So I want to, so I can just call it something else. So my only problem is the it doesn't do anything with it, so I don't have to worry about it like messing with things. Like I said, my brain it's really not braining. Like I have some sort of like mental block thing going on right now. It's really annoying. Like earlier, or all my other ones that my dev streams I've done, I've been like there's been like a really nice flow in my brain, and I almost can't get it out fast enough. But today is different. Today it's like I want to do that, but it's like nope. Here's the thing, like even if I stop, I was like, okay, I'll just go take a break, right? No, nope. My brain will be continuously thinking about this. Yeah, like to the point of like I won't be able to watch YouTube videos. I won't be able to watch any TV shows. I won't be able to do anything else because my brain will be like thinking about this, like that I want to do this more than I want to do those other things. So we're taking this, and that's our initial seeding depth. And so what I just thought about is that why do we need that at all? Why don't we just initial seeding depth minus I divided by the test group number, which these are really bad names. That's like, I can't even think about like proper names to call these. There's actual terminology for this stuff. Again, I should probably be looking at my notes. I have at the front of my notebook that I have that tracks all this information, I have like the entire process that I use with all of the correct terminology and stuff like that, and I have it for reference there. So if I ever get lost in the thing that I'm doing, it yeah. Okay, so test round number. I'm gonna say amount. Amount. Hold on. So how many rounds would you like to test? That's the correct one. Test round. It's because I spelled it wrong. AMOUNT. Okay. Test increment. That's correct. How many groups? Test group number. Okay. Print test set. Okay. Good. Now let's see if this does the correct thing. Okay, good. We don't need that open. Do this. We need dummy information. More, a little bit more. 1.225. Okay, how many rounds would you like for the test? We're going to say 30. How many thousands? We're going to say 0.003. How many round groups? We're going to say 3 round groups. So it starts us off at our initial seeding depth, then goes to that. Excellent. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. Outstanding. The only thing is that I do want some error checking in here. This is just like, nah. Yeah, I don't know if I should put that in there or not. I mean, I know I should, in that, like, it's a good idea to have that, and it's yeah. Hold on, I gotta take some Motrin, because that's what's kind of like my focus is on. So all right. Hopefully that'll get rid of that headache a little bit. That's kind of what's causing me to have a little bit of stuff, is my brain is keep like, you're in pain, you're in pain, you're in pain. And then I can't, it's like I don't have focus. Yeah. So what I kind of want to put this into a try except block, so that way it but it's I don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me run it again. Yeah, I have to do the jam thing. Okay. Okay. How many rounds would you like for the test? It's expecting an integer. Why don't we put this in here? Okay. So, in order to do that, because it's like, I don't have, I say, I was just getting ready to say something something dumb. Like, what I was getting ready to say was, if I have the user, and like, if I prompt the user for the correct thing, then they shouldn't enter the correct thing, or they should enter the correct thing. But that is like the assumption. That assumption is what creates bugs, and why I'm able to do bug bounty programs. Um, but I want it to be this, and I would have to create a loop that does that. Like, if it's not the correct thing, like, that's not the right one, right? So while true, so try except value error. So is that all I would have to do, is just put a try and then put all of that in there, and then do except? You know what I mean? This one, just go try. tab and then go. Accept value error. But why would you do that? I'm going to leave it alone. I don't want to deal with this. My brain's not braining today, so I'm trying to push through, but even this basic garbage is kicking my ass. Okay. So I think we have that done to the sufficient amount of stuff. And I'm going to ask something else. So how to the user okay. All right. So I was just seeing how to, like, this is all nice and everything, but how do you get the user to rerun this stuff, which is a little, like, I understand it and everything, but it's like, I don't think we're there yet. I'm still just trying to create the basic functionality and things that I'm going to need within these individual classes. Like, I'm setting the classes up. It's basically like getting the backbone of everything. And I'm going to hold off on doing well, hold on. I'm going to have to basically make a like how I have this function here. Maybe I ought to do that. Maybe I ought to make a function that goes through, that would just go through the entire program. Because like, so where I'm at right now, oh man, sorry, I didn't want to cough on the camera. Cough on the camera, cough on the microphone. Maybe I'm getting sick. Anyway, where we're at. So this up here, right here. So this overall profile thing is going to basically be this class and this class kind of combined, right? And that is going to eventually going to have to get stuck into a while loop. So, and the reason why I'm not doing it now is because it's going to be tied to the user interface when the user, so when the user clicks like the plus button to create a new one of these, it will do that, and that will be mapped to that button, and then it'll start running through this right here. And same thing when they do this as well. So we have, so we're going to hold off on that because that's going to be mainly tied to just like one thing, and it's not that hard to implement. We have the backbone of the rest of the program here. So we have that overall profile, right? And then this will, like this stuff here will be the main profile. Excuse me. This is the reload one that we just did. So we got done with that. Then it will have your main profile. And by main profile, I mean like the individual rifle system / round combinations. And that is that one there. Sorry about that. That's these two right here. Well, actually, it's just this. So you can have, like, you'll have your overall profile, which will include this data, and it will include this data, and it will also include your dope as well. So now we're on to this. Now, a lot of this information, like so min and max, I'm pretty damn sure that those are built-in functions. Let me pull up the Python library, standard library. So built-in functions. So max is 1, min is 1. Is average? No. Maybe it's something else. Okay, it's not there. So what we're going to have to do for this one is standard library is, I think, so it is part of the standard library, but I think it is statistics is the one. So this one, here is some of the stuff we have. So arithmetic mean, so the average of data. So we're going to have to import statistics and do a oh man. So what I'm thinking about doing is, because what's the difference between this? So the min and the max is built in. These mean the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy, get that out of there. So that's the same. The median is the middle value. I don't think that is necessarily important. So we're just going to remove that. Like I cannot think of a single instance where you need to know the exact middle of the data. It just, for this in particular, because it's not relevant to any calculations that you're doing. I was just putting that there just in case. The mode, single most common value. That one we'll leave in because that's going to be a thing that, like, you're going to want to know, like, where is it kind of mostly at? You know what I'm saying? And then measurements of spread. So obviously variance and standard deviation. So these are the calculations. This is in. And then, actually, why don't I just do this? Control C. Built in. And what the heck? What a jerk. It won't even let me do that like an IDE. Also, I'm very lucky. So the reason why my notepad works, I think, is because I took a bunch of stuff from Microsoft completely out of the registry. Like, I deleted it because I didn't even want it on my computer. So I think, like, some of the bugs that have been happening with Windows, I've been lucking out because the link is in between, or is somewhere, like, you know. So we need to look at this. Need to look at this. And mode. I just want to see kind of how they're used and the mean. So what I'm thinking about doing is making a function that does all of these calculations, right? Or a class that does those specific calculations. And then I would be able to just call the methods on whatever it is that I wanted to do. So square root of the sample variance. So the standard deviation is important because you want the lowest standard deviation away from, like, you know, your data there. So, like, you don't want it, like, the higher that number is, meaning like shot to shot, like, say if your standard deviation or your muzzle velocity was 1. Well, if your standard deviation is really high, then, and high meaning like by shooting standards. And what you want is you want a high single digit, so like a 8 to 10 range is like, that's like F class accuracy. And then like or sorry, 8 to 9. And then like 10 to 12 or 14 is like, that's like your precision stuff, like high precision. And then like just say like 13 to 16 or so, that's like what, when you go out and you buy quote unquote match grade, that's like what that's going to shoot at. And then your standard is like 18, 19, 20, like from that. And basically what that means is that your sample data, instead of going like 1.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.75, etc., it'll go like 1.5, 4.75, like 0.2, and then it'll pop back up to like 20 and like etc. So basically you want as minimal a gap between your individual shot to shot data as humanly possible. And that's kind of like what this number is kind of representative of. Is it kind of gives you like, it says, hey, like this is kind of like how far away from like normal your shit's gonna be. I think, at least that's how and then the variance, maybe that's variance. Iterable, at least 2 real world valid numbers. Yeah, maybe it's variability that I was just talking about. Oh, okay, yeah. Small variance indicates cluster on the mean. If optimal, second argument, it should be the sample mean of data. If it's missing or none, default, the mean is automatically calculated. Okay. Return the sample. So yeah, so I'm thinking about the being that those are right next to each other. I don't need to mode single most common data point or nominal data. Okay. Oh, cool. You can do it for strings too. That's good to know. It's another way. I can't remember. There was something in one of the tutorials I did where it was like, find how many times that this is in the thing. Sort of the same deal. Median, middle value. So it seems like this is pretty damn simple. From what I'm looking at here, I'm pretty much going to say, I'm going to call statistics, standard deviation, and then whatever the information is. So my problem now, I think my problem now, I have many of them, is that specifically for this, no. So I don't think sorry, people. I'm real sorry about that. I don't know. I don't like, we're going to need that elsewhere. But I think instead of having it be its own class, because this is the only method within here that is going to need this calculation, specifically the ones that we just went over. Additionally, down here, this is the only one. So instead of adding it as its own class to then call it confusingly in each one of these methods, because this is the only method that it's going to need to be called in on here, and this is the only method that it's going to need to be called in there. And it's only going to need to be called on this very specific piece of data. The only thing is kind of what I'm thinking about is I want, like, as time goes on, and especially like with this, as time goes on and this data set gets larger and larger and larger, like I'd said before, I want to combine every single instance of this within this method or within within this context into a master list of these. So say like, so this is a thing that's going to be reoccurring, like continuously, right? So say that somebody has like 100 instances, meaning they went out and they did this fire on 100 days and they got all this information, right? Specifically for this number, I want it to calculate those things for that the whole time, or, you know, entirely. But, however, I also want it done for this too. So people, like, you know, so you can go, what's your average? So basically, like, what'll end up happening is, like, say, I'll just use myself as an example. I went out and I did like 10 of these tests with, or let's just say 30. So every day for a month, I went out and I did this. Well, it's going to give me, and say I did, you know, 30 shots a piece, right? So what's that, like 900? Let me see. 30 for 30 days. Oh, it's not that. Yeah, 900. So I have 900 pieces of data. I have 900 of these. I have 900 of this. I have 900 of this. I have 900 of this. I have 900 of that and 900 of those. All of that, even this and this here, right? Which, yeah. So anyways, if I just do it within the context of those two methods inside of those two classes, and it'll only calculate what I want it to do for this, but I want you to be able to be like, oh, on average, the temperature is this. On average, the relative humidity is this. On average, the wind speed is this and in this direction. You know? So basically what that's going to eventually get you is if you have enough of that information, it will give you your standard. That'll be what's called your standard conditions. So like, for example, like without doing any of that data, if you can also get this information from like weather apps and stuff. So where I'm at specifically, the standard conditions is 52 degrees Fahrenheit, a wind speed of 8 miles per hour from the northwest, like blowing to the southwest. The relative humidity is like 30.0 something. Temperature, wind speed. Oh no, that's relative humidity. The RH is like 84%. What am I thinking about? Excuse me, the altitude. No. Yeah, I was talking about the altitude. Or no, the what do you call that? I gotta look up the term. Excuse me. So the altitude range. I forget what the frick the term is for it. Yeah. Oh, back. Atmospheric density. That's what it's called. Sorry. Like I said, my brain's not braining today. That's actually something that is missing from this data set, but is represented by this number. So that's why I had confusion in my brain. But so the standard conditions for where I'm at is 52 degrees with 8 mile per hour wind coming out of the northwest, 84% humidity, and my altitude range is for the like sea level, right? But that won't be everybody's stuff, you know. So what are we at? Not including this. Five. $15. 16. 22. Okay, you have to go to my taskbar. Like I said, my brain's not braining. 2. So we're at 369 lines of code. I know it's taken me forever to write this, but I'm learning here. Oh, brother. Ugh. I'm pretty happy with the way it's turning out so far. here's a question I still haven't answered for myself, although I do kind of have more of a understanding of how that's going to get implemented. So we have our 3 classes. That's right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to make those calculations its own class so it can interact with these different things, or if I want to put it directly into the specific spots where it's going to be used for those particular times. I just don't know where or what it should do. Huh. I might have to think about it, because we're at the point now where we have most of the functionality of the program minus the ballistic calculator and other statistical calculations, but we have no way of, so like right now it's just like a command line program, and I don't want to make like the, what did I call it? I have to think about what did I say? So how to run a class when the user decides to run it, right? And what I'm talking about is, you know, if when you're doing this in particular, you're doing this test, you're going to basically have the same components, and you're going to be using different powders, and you're basically going to like load up the same components with different things inside, with different powder inside of it, and then you're going to select, yeah, you're going to run the different things with different powders in it, different round, powder, primer, brass combos, and then you're going to test it according to up here, right? So you're going to, this is for that test, and then you're going to go out and you're going to test those, and you're going to gather this data, and you're going to take this data too, but this is the most important one. You need to know this as well too. That really helps. That makes a difference because of the burn rate changes with temperature. Then once you have that done, you're going to run, like once you have all of that chosen, you're going to choose whichever one of these is the best powder, and that is reliant on what these numbers show and what those statistics, all these, what numbers those show up as. And then once you've selected the best one of those, so that one you weren't going for a group, you were just going for data, then you're going to come back in, and with your best selected powder, you are going to run this test. And then you're going to select your best group. And when you do that, that, and then like after that you test it again, right? So you do this same test with the correct powder and the correct charge weight and the correct seating depth, and you test it again to make sure. So, and you're testing your muzzle velocity and your group, and it's just like just double checking yourself. Then once you have that, then you enter that information into this class, because this is your system and bullet combo, and this is what that becomes. And then all you have to do, so this is what that becomes, right? So that's like a profile, and then you continually gather this every time you go out to the range. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm really glad that this is easy though. Like this is easy. Like, so all I should have to do is, where was that where I did this too? Right here. So I'm going to end up calling it like this and saving that to a variable, but it's going to get this one right here. It's going to get this, and that it's going to take that list, which is your data set, and then the only thing that I have to collect on that, see here, data, and the only thing I have to do is just type statistics.standard stdev, and then enter the variable name right there, or statistics.variance and enter the variable name right there. That's it. That's all I'm going to have to do, right? So I'm going to call it like that, make it into a variable, and I'm going to enter that variable name into there. That's how easy that is, which is really, really nice. And same thing with that too. So I'm not even worried about these particular calculations because they're so easy to implement. Like really easy. I'm not even, that's really easy. So all I have to do is just import statistics. And I suppose I could import specific things from statistics, but why not just import the thing? What does it make a difference? It's not like some production BS where it's dealing with like massive amounts of calculations at the same time. You know, it'll be fast enough for what we're going to need it for. Okay. And that's just what is not in the standard library. So we know now this is going to be easy to implement, and we know where it's going to come from. So this is built in, and these are just a matter of calling and then data. and then so on, right? Whatever the dot, name is, method name or whatever for the library. That's all I have to do with that. Sorry about that again. So now we're on to this. So the two most difficult things for me, I think, in this app are going to be working with this complicated ass library and then whipping up the user interface. So I don't know which one to do first, because the user interface is going to have some like when we do the user interface, we're going to be able to go back and then put these things in while loops with break statements, so that way the user can like redo them and put them in. So we're going to be kind of like back and forthing, I think. I think we're going to we're going to like create the user interface, then we're going to go back and like tie it to the program. Then we're going to go back to the user interface a little bit more. Then we're going to institute the while loops, so that way these things can be done multiple times. Then we're going to go back to the user interface, make sure it's good to go. Then we're going to implement the matplotlib, the calculations, and the pandas for organizing the data. So I need to start reading the documentation for this library, I think. Which sucks for now, because we're going to be kind of we're not going to be coding as much as we would, or we should, or whatever. And we got done with this. So we're done with this class that we needed to do up. Let me bring up another screen here. New tab. Perfect. So I'm going to read this. Oh, brother. Instead of actually, this page summarizes the primary classes for this project and how they fit together at runtime. Calculator. High-level entry point to compute trajectories. Accepts a shot scene and returns a hit result with trajectory rows and helpers. Okay. Details a shooting scenario. Ammo, atmosphere, weapon wind, and angles. Look, slant, relative, can. Okay. Hit result. A wrapper for accessing and displaying calculated results, including a list of trajectory data, which are detailed characteristics of points on a ballistic trajectory. So you'll be able to view the parabola of your shot arc. Is that what's going on? The classes that comprise shot, ammo, wraps muzzle velocity, including optional powder temperature sensitivity, together with a drag model. Okay. Calculation engines implement different algorithms for integration and targeting, all inherit from the base integration engine. So that's another decision I need to make, is which of these engines to use. What do I call it? Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, so this is more accurate than Euler and velocity for the same large time step. It performs about 4 times the operation in steps. It is a widely applicable method for solving ordinary differential equations. Tends to be the fastest, but is the least accurate. So that's like right off the bat, bye-bye. Often used in physics engines and molecular dynamics simulations because it provides good stability and accuracy. Long simulation. This library function, which likely uses a robust, highly optimized algorithm, such as higher order. Its performance would be in terms of for robust general purpose scientific computing, where ease of use and high accuracy are paramount. So I want the RK4 or the SciPy. Let's go RK4 and SciPy. Let's see what it do. Selected API references. Okay. Meth. I see how it is. High performance. Okay. So what's this? Calculator. So it seems like I have to initiate which engine I want to use, which imports all of its calculations and things like that. Um, okay. So max range, distance step, time slap. Cool. All right. I'm gonna have to read this entire library, like to get a really, really like high level understanding of what's going on. Because I don't want to just start like implementing things and then, you know, scroll down and end up finding out that there's like a way better way to do stuff. You know, or like implement, write out a bunch of this stuff and then find out that you could have just done it with like one line later on. That would irritate me. parameters. Okay. So shop info. And this is why I coded out all of the stuff that I did, because it's going to need this information, which the user can then enter in, right? And then we can call it up later to implement with this calculator. So instead of like, and all of that already being user entered information. So hopefully we don't have problems. Okay. Okay. Calc powder sensitive. True, automatically adjusts muzzle velocity based on powder temperature differences. Okay. So when we set this stuff, some of this is going to be like I'm always going to have this on for my stuff. So there's no point in me hard coding that, but like, and this specifically, it seems like it already possesses the, different units of measurement in it. That's so right here. This is one of the max range. So this is why I didn't code into my stuff some of the things that it would need, because this is a function of the calculator itself. So I don't need to ask the user that in my own code that I made up, because it's going to be part of that. And I'll be able to, like, the ballistic calculator is going to be tied to its own kind of user interface section, not not different things. So I am going to stop the recording and have a part 3. This is for me, for ease of uploads later on, so it doesn't take 2, 3, 4 hours to do upload. Just take like 1 or 2. Stop recording. Wait for a couple seconds. Start recording. Okay. All right. This is part 3. We're here looking at this library for PyBallistic Calc to do ballistic calculations for our app that we're doing here. Solves vector differential equation for projectile motion under the influence of gravity and atmospheric drag. Initialize those state vectors from shot info parameters. Set up integration bounds and step size. Begin numerical integration loop. At each step, calculate drag forces from atmospheric conditions. Cool. Protocol, back up to engines again, conditions, and then these are all their own classes, which will have user input. And the thing is, like, I'm really thinking that I need to not even bother with this yet and go right into starting to make the user interface, because this stuff I'm not going to do how I did in my code where I'm asking the user. I'm just going to map it to whatever button or field is in the user interface. So, and here's the thing, the only Python user interface or GUI library that I have experience with is tkenter. And tkenter looks like a bag of smashed assholes. So I'm not entirely sure. I know that that's not what I want to use. Altitude, pressure, and relative humidity. These two are linked. Yeah, because this is going to change. Attributes. because the program is kind of split. I'm just talking through this for myself. The program's kind of split into two different sections, right? It's got the user entered data and like things that are pertinent and specific just to the user, right? It's got this reloading component to it where you can do your testing and repeat that and get your correct round that you need. Then it has a area where you store all of your data about your rifle bullet combination, and then it has a dope section, which is basically like the taking this information or even your non-test, maybe your stuff that you already ran through this and testing it again. And you're doing this to collect data so that way this is more accurate. And in the program itself, what the user is going to use is this will be a section, this will be a section, and this will be a section, and this will be a section. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be 4 different sections of the program with this calculator taking information out of this and this stuff providing information to the calculator. So sorry, I gotta go through that in my head so I know kind of what's what and what's going on, you know. Ratio of local air density to standard air density. Suppose we could put some music on. Sorry that I didn't do that before, but I'm trying to kind of stay focused a little. But after reading all of this and like kind of how it's all working and seeing the examples that they're given for these individual methods, I am not sure whether I want to continue trying to implement this, like just start getting this coded out, or if I want to do the user interface. And then some stupid question, so I think the answer to that is yes. Yeah. Not that it's going to be particularly long. So I have it saved as main. And okay, so we're gonna make a UI.py. Yeah. And like I said, I think we're gonna use this. What was that called? It's PySide 6, but it's from the Qt library, but I don't know. Okay, so I know dumb questions to ask, but there are no dumb questions when you're trying to learn stuff. So I think I kind of got the gist of how this is going to work, more or less. Ow. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. Bye. So that's the atmosphere. Here's the wind. Velocity, direction. Frick is until distance. Until which distance the specified wind blows. I don't understand that. And it's measuring it in degrees, which is good. That is a good one. But I'm gonna want, that's a real short guy. I am gonna want that to be set within a certain amount, because I'm not making this for like super duper huge, like absolute complete and total black and white accuracy. I'm making it to like get you good enough, right? And then once you go out and you do all this and you do all these things and you combine all this data and you do the calculations and you go out and test again to make sure that it's good to go, you yourself, I guess there's 5 portions. You yourself will be, which is also tied to the user interface, will be able to take that data that you get combined with this here and add it to the 5th section, which is creating the range card stuff for yourself. And then once you have all that, you'll be able to take it out and do the things you want with it, right? All right, so ammo. Okay, so it's not like this is important. So if you have your stuff, oh, fucker. So you have your stuff here, and your, like, says like 1 o'clock. I know it's not accurate, but if you had your stuff off by just like 1 degree, right? Well, over time, like distance wise, it's going to do this. Your target's like right there. And like each time, it's going to get more and more and more pronounced until you get to your target. And you could end up missing by inches, feet, whatever. You know, so it's real important to do, to not have. Elevation, azimuth, latitude. No, that's for Coriolis effect. Yeah, so like what that is like, all right, so the Earth moves, right, in a circle. Yeah. And so your target's here. And when you fire the bullet, right, you and the target are moving around on the Earth. So that it's like moving. And if it takes long enough to get there, your target could literally, because the Earth is moving, the Earth could have moved your target out of the way. So I think that's what that is. Coriolis effect. Yeah. Yeah. Deflecting objects to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what that does. Oh man. Barrel elevation. And that's something some people are concerned with too. That's shooting uphill or downhill. Parameters. Okay. Used by the calculation engines. Constants. Global, physical, and atmospheric constants. Not many of them. Gravity, obviously. Yeah, see, standard humidity. Standard. This is for like, so if you wanted like a quick down and dirty one without doing all that, I'm also going to have this implementation in it too, to have like a really quick calculator. And it'll be like a tab, like you'll be able to tab over and just enter in really quick, here's my standard humidity, here's my the temperature, here's the range, here's the muzzle velocity off the side of the ammo box that I got. Like, you're not doing anything, you just stick it in there, and then that'll give you quick stuff. Right. So this just goes over the individual things. Yeah, I'm really thinking that we're going to be doing the user interface first. And that is because I need something to tie this to. Now, a lot of this information is going to be user entered and from our already programmed stuff, but not all of it. And there's even some things that we're going to have to implement as well. So in order to get it for like everybody, so anybody can use it, doesn't matter where they are in the world. And I mean that by, like, you know, if you use Celsius, I don't want you to have to convert to Fahrenheit, and I want you to be able to like toggle that. And if you use Fahrenheit, I definitely don't want you to have to use that filthy ass, you know, European bullshit. So I want you to be able to use your own units that you're comfortable with. Because there's no point. Like, I mean, just like an American perspective, like, we don't know what the frick is, like 1 degree Celsius is. Like, nobody here knows that. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't like say like, oh, it's, you know, if, but like you can know whether, I mean, within reason, right? So like you can tell and feel like 5 degree differences in temperature, right? But I mean that in Fahrenheit. But if you do that same thing, like 5 degrees Celsius, I mean, I don't even know what the frick that is. What is the... I don't even know. Temperature. Fahrenheit to Celsius. I'm going to say 5 degrees. So it's 15 or minus 15. I don't even know. See, I don't even know like why. Oh, it's okay. So I get that now. But so 32 is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand about, oh, it's about water, whatever, being cold or hot or whatever. It's like, yeah, but that changes with atmosphere. Like, so if I'm here down at sea level, I think that's what that model is based off of. But if you go up to like 10,000 feet, well, that changes, you know? Oh, man. I only know that inches are better than centimeters. Ask your mom. Tables, comment. So the only thing that we are going to concern ourselves with is the G1 and the G7. And I will also probably add this in it too, just because this is a common thing here. This is the first one that I ever got when I was a kid, a young kid. So my voice is kind of raspy. I think I'm getting sick. Straight up I do. because after I felt I got kind of like an upset stomach. I've been coughing and sneezing the past few days. I think I'm fighting something off. And I got that kind of headache going on too, which that Motrin I took helped alleviate a lot better, which is why I'm able to talk and concentrate a lot more. I don't know if you guys can notice or not, but yeah, straight up. So drag table names, list available. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm just going over all this, making sure that I got all this good to go. I kind of have a better understanding. Before I was just kind of like looking at it and, you know, like getting a sense of when they say sight, what do they mean? Oh, okay, they mean first focal plane and all this stuff. Now I'm like actually reading the thing, right? So sorry it's so boring and I'm not doing coding, but like specifically with this, I've never worked with this before. I'm gonna have to learn it, and especially when we get into, that'll be the next thing I'm gonna get ready to do. I'm gonna go look into that, what do you call that? Where's that? Where you at? This PySide 6 I think is going to be the best option for me. I looked that up the other day, which is a derivation of this Qt library. So I'm going to have to read and look into that too. Okay, so this is side adjustments, which is nice. And these are your scope, you know, click values. Angular size of horizontal click adjustments. And some of these are going to be points that you're going to want, like so. This is a common thing that you'll see when calculating trajectory. So it's when it rises through the sight line. And I forget what there's a term for it. I think, is it max point blank range or something like that? It's basically like the farthest out range that you can get, where basically you don't have to do any kind of adjustment on anything at all, right? Which, so for like a AR pattern or an M4, M16 style, and you're sighted in at like 50 yards or meters or whatever, I think it's like 200 or something like that. So this is a good thing to have marked on your stuff, because it allows you to tell, like, once the round starts dipping below this number, whatever it is for your stuff, which is, I think it's below 1,000 feet per second. But I mean, like wherever that's at, whatever distance I'm at is the range. I mean, your round will start to spin similarly to like the end of like when you spin a top, like the toy. It will spin like erratically. It will start to tumble, and you might even keyhole stuff. And so like this is basically, it ends up becoming your max effective range most of the time, or your max range that you can actively reliably hit a target, right? And then this trajectory apex is important, and even the thing of that too, because sometimes, like, you know, you may be here and your target may be here, right? And then you might have like some sort of, like, say, power lines. You might have like power lines that run here, and if you don't want to like hit them when you're trying to hit your targets, or like it might be a bridge, you might be shooting underneath a bridge or something. That's for like military police applications, but that it's important to know too. I mean, it's like, even if you're a lot of times, like, so hunters, for example, I'm not a hunter myself, but hunters are oftentimes out in these wooded areas, and out there they have those gigantic ass they're like frickin' towers with the power lines, and there's like 3 or 4 of the power lines on each side. And so that might be good to know, so you're not taking everybody's frickin' power out, you know. But there's a lot of different reasons why you need all this information. Also too, like around where I'm at, there is multiple lanes of traffic for like planes and stuff. Now I'm not like anywhere near the like I'm at sea level, so like it's fine. But if you have that same sort of thing, but you're up in the mountains, I mean, you may be real close to some of those lanes of traffic that, you know, planes coming in and out of airports are, if you're in specific locations. Just things to consider and things to be aware of. You know, not many people consider that stuff. So units. Okay. Well, so another thing too is what I like about this is I may not have to implement this on my own stuff. I may just have to use their built-in class. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to use their built-in class and let users define that, which is nice because I don't have to build it. I don't have to make it. I just have to use it, right? Yeah, preferred units. So, and I'm absolutely setting the default stuff to things that Americans use, like as in general, right? I'm not going to inconvenience my countrymen. I'm going to inconvenience you, tea slurping crumpet munchers. You're going to have to change it to Celsius. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making it easier for you heathens. But I will allow you to use my calculator using your filthy heathen metric system, if you so desire. Yeah, buddy. I'm definitely doing that. Not this, though. This is going to be changed to Fahrenheit. But that's good, too. It also, so like you can map this to a button as well, right? Set prefer with keyword arguments. What's going to be weird is like how, I mean, like for me, is like, okay. So basically we're going to have to do that to implement this. We're going to have to use these keyword arguments, and we're going to have to set the values to like aliases, right? And then map those to like the drop down menu. So, or whatever. So when somebody says like, oh, I'm not using inches, I'm not using like yards, I'm using meters, they'll have like a little drop down menu where they can select that for themselves, which will be nice. And then I don't have to code this at all. It's already there, you know. And then what I would like to do, even though I'm just ribbing you guys, I don't really care. But if you wanted to use like this, so it says preferred units, I want you to be able to set that for yourself, and then it work from your point of reference, you know. So if you are someone who's using degrees and meters per second and millimeters and HG and Celsius and centimeters and whatever else you're using, then it will preset to your preferred units. So then you only have to change it one time, you know what I mean? Ideally. Vector. Huh. Exceptions. And that's also, so this is also why I did not hard code into, like, for this, I did not say like what's your range that you're going to be at, because I knew that it having, you know, summary reading this, that it was built into this stuff already. I know this is not the same, but it was up here. So I'm gonna probably be really familiar with this page by the end of doing this, because I'm gonna be coming here going, why is it giving me all this BS? All right, I am relatively certain now that with the way that this works, I actually need to read through this too. I'm gonna do that on my own time though. I know, you save this here and move it up to here. Like, I know for a fact that the next thing that we're going to do is implement the UI. Like, that's what we're going to have to do, because this stuff as complicated as it is relatively straightforward. I just got to figure out like, and it's also very well made, like in that, like these naming conventions and the things, like how it works, right? So it accept, like, this is the overall thing, and it accepts a shot. Inside the shot is this information. Some of this information is going to have to be, is going to come from our already coded stuff, and some of this information is going to come from direct user input from the UI. I would actually say somewhere around 50-50 at this point. And then it's going to spit us out a hit result for accessing and displaying calculator results, including, and then it's going to give us the trajectory data, which, so I would prefer to implement this side by side with the user interface already done up, which means that I need to first design the user interface to accept all of this code that I've done so far, and then get that all worked out to where it looks how I want, and everything's mapped out and tested. So when I'm doing the user interface itself, bring up Paint again, I'll be able to, like, you know, like I always say, like the first one's gonna have, you're gonna have your overall profile, right? And you'll have something like this, even though I keep changing things. So it'll be something like this. So this will be like your reloading data, right? And that will be all of that up there. And then you'll be able to click into that, and then that will give you, you know, all the things that you need. And then you'll open up that, and it'll have you like a list of it'll have you like a list of calculations down at the bottom, like what we were talking about, like the mean, median, or the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the variance, all that stuff, right? You'll be able to click that, and then it'll have over here, it'll have you like a matplotlib graph, maybe a couple different ones, so you can kind of see what's what, right? And then it will have this same thing. This will be your weapon round combo, and then it will have, scratch this out, then it will have this, and it will have it all listed out for you to you know, change and whatever you need to do. And then it'll have like a notes section down here, and then you'll have your dope, right? And these two will be kind of like linked together. Maybe this will go into this, it'll look like that, and then it'll go into all the other stuff too. So you're going to be able to like look at all your stuff as, you know, as you're going on. We'll decide kind of like what it's going to be. Just, I'm trying to get the point across that we were going to have it organized and grouped in a certain way. And then if you want, like when you add this, it's going to add you a new section for this here. And there'll probably be two of those. There'll probably be like one here too, right? Let me get all this out of here. Yeah, so it'll probably be, that. And then, so that'll be the reloading data. And then you'll have this one with another one of these. Right. And then it'll go here, have that thing, and then it'll be this, it'll be the same. You know, you get what I'm talking about. I just want to make sure that it is safe. I just want to make sure that it's that I'm talking through it right, you know. So I have that, and I need to go and look at Qt for Python. So offers official Python bindings for Qt, which enables you to use Python to write your applications. The project has two main components: PySide 6, so that you can use in your Python apps, and which can be used to expose. Okay, so that's why I said PySide 6. So I may end up doing like a little tutorial. Any widgets before you can install. Highly recommend. Yep, we already have that. Yep, we already did it. We already did that. We have one of those. We are going to need to install PySide. Okay. Hope VS Code is compatible with that. Okay, good. Besides editing the code of your application, you can use external plugins to enable more functionality like writing, fine. PyCharm. Okay, so we're good on that. We don't need that. What is Qt tutorials? Basic dialogue, tree. XML. Eesh, I hate XML. Even though it's really simple, I just. That's a good information and how to. Yeah, you gotta create a freaking executable of it. Widgets. Seems like it's going to be relatively straightforward. I mean, it looks like very, very similar to like what Tkenter was doing. Basically, you're setting up like a little square, you're putting, you know, text inside of it, you're aligning the different things, you're putting padding on it so it's got stuff around there. That dot show, I don't know what that is, but like, you know, like there's also an order to it too. We had that person that came in, I think a couple streams back, and was asking me for some help with the Lua script that they were doing for like a Minecraft thing. And that was one of the things they were running into. They could not figure out like how it was going, or like that, like their buttons were like disappearing or something. And that's one of the things that I suggested was, you know, there's a X and a Y, or a X and a Y with these, but is there like a Z too, you know? So we didn't know, or I didn't know. But yeah, see, label, so I'm gonna end up getting off here in about like, I'm probably gonna get off here in a couple minutes. I'm gonna take a break real quick, do some walking around, maybe get something to eat, and or cook some food or something. I don't know how long I'm gonna be gone, but I have to do 4 hours today to mark my stuff off for myself, and I also have to do like an hour of hacking stuff, and I'm gonna be looking at another bug bounty program. But when I come back later on, I'm gonna do more of this, and I want to it'll probably be me learning this. I'll probably be going through like a tutorial or something and trying to figure out the basics of what this is and how it works, so that way I can start making something for myself. Tell you right now, one of the first things I'm gonna want to do is to make sure that I don't work in light mode, you know, if possible. Let's set that background color to black or gray or whatever. We'll figure it out. Samples. Widgets. Animated tiles. I want it to look. There was a. I want it to look more like this. This one over here. I mean, it looks like a VS Code sort of, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to have. I don't want it to be light mode or whatever. This is PySide 6 designer. Oh, that's cool. Assistant. Huh. Cool. I don't know if I'm going to make use of that though. Basic tutorials. All right, so we looked at that, and now we have to look at this here. Ow. Jerk. Got a toggle. What a butthole. No dark mode. What's the matter with you, Firefox? Okay, so PySide and Qt are the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if it would be a good thing to stream me going through a tutorial or nothing. A video course. On a website. And Facebook or YouTube. Okay, so that's there like that. I'll actually legit probably take this just to go through it and see what's what. It's gonna get me a lot quicker. Give me a generalized thing a lot quicker than having to go through the documentation. Well, only in that way, but it'll give me a good baseline. $2026. I think I have this. Either way, we'll save it anyway. So we have the documentation. I just want to do a first initial bit. Okay, so create the application instance. So we have to import sys2. Create a main window. Set its size. So that's width and height. Something and something. Why 4? Add a label. Oh no. Oh yeah. Label. Show the window. Fucking Reddit. Useless website. All right, I am going to, for now, I know we didn't do much figuring out what was what for the stuff that we needed, but I mean, I'd say, I can't remember when the frick I started this. I'm gonna have to go look at when the file was created for the first dev stream, but I think it was like second week, so we've only been doing this for like a couple weeks, and in reality I've only been coding and doing stuff like that on stream, and I've been thinking about it and like doing like Google searches and kind of what I was doing just then. I've been doing that off stream to kind of get like mainly like write all these questions I've been asking Google. Okay. So in reality, I've only done 9 dev streams total. This is the 9th one. So I've only been working on this for like 9 days, and we already have a functional, basically 3/5 of the application done up. The remaining 2/5 is the ballistic calculation, which we just went over, you saw, and the pandas with the data organization. Pandas with, is it just pandas? It may be NumPy too. I mean, look that up now. No. Otherwise it'll bother me. Matplotlib, that's what it is. So it'll be pandas, matplotlib, which go hand in hand. It's basically organizing or showing the data in a I just want line graphs, but pandas is for like organizing it in columns and rows and whatever. And then the ballistic app. So we will implement all of those, but I want to get that user interface done up for this portion of it, so I can get that kind of what do you call it, like the application flow down and kind of get what it's going to look like. And then I will also, so that will help me know kind of where to put it at visually too. And then it's going to be, I guess I'm saving the hardest thing for last. However, it's probably going to end up being the easiest because I don't have to create anything myself. I'm just using what these guys have already done. So there's not really, like, I don't really have to think about the structure of anything. It's already structured out. I just have to find what is the correct class and method, and then what do those classes and what data do those classes and methods need. And anything that is not already defined by this, maybe I have to add more sections to these, more of this stuff. But some of this is not relevant to just the numeric fields. The numeric fields are pretty much the things that are going to be relevant to either calculations for the statistics or calculations for the ballistic calculator. But like, you know, like time and date, that has no bearing at all whatsoever on any of that other stuff. So I think that implementing that user interface is going to be the logical next step, because I'm going to be able to then take that information that I've already done myself and basically map it to the individual things inside the field. All right. Yeah. Okay. I just changed the music because I was getting tired of that other stuff. But it's not playing for me. I want to listen to it too, not just them. OBS. There we go. So yeah. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to start messing with UI, and we're going to be getting a new file, and we're going to call this UI.i. Okay. So we already know that we're going to need import sys and import, I can't remember. No, we won't do that because I don't like that red squiggle bullshit on my code. And we can leave this here. And we can comment out these. This is just where I used to run my arbitrary code that I'm like playing with or whatever. Which will be nice. And I'm not good with user interfaces. It's going to take some design principle stuff. I'm not into that. I'm not an artistic person. In general, I want it to kind of look similar in aesthetics to this, you know, where I'm using, you know, it's like this dark mode, and I'm using yeah, I'll probably use this, like, find out where you can find the colors for these things, since it does so well. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not an artistic person. I'm not a design person or anything like that. So, oh, it's alphabetical. That's why. So yeah. All right, people. I think I'm done for the time being. When I come back, I won't be streaming on. I'll just be doing normal stream. I won't be including the extra stuff. And I think we're gonna look into making some stuff with the PySide 6 or the Qt library, and we're gonna do that so we can start getting this mapped out. It's hard to tell which direction to go, but we'll just pick one and start plugging through it just like we did this. I don't know how long it's going to take. I know I still have a lot more to go. Lot more to go. Okay. We'll see you guys.